object is very useful, but at the same time for first time using is a bit confusing. So we're going to really take our time with this one. Okay, now we're going to save, it'll reformat. And now I'm going to create an object. I'm going to call it info. Okay, and then the way object works is that there's a key value pair. So it'll be like, has Rob coded before is the key, and then the value is, I'm gonna use this value that was pre-assigned, like we did this earlier, and this is going to be the value. And this, if I were to do now console.log info.has Rob coded before, it will look for the key of has Rob coded before and grab that value, which is true. Right? Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And inside of an object, you could have all the different types. Like I could now have Rob's occupation, and that would be occupation that we previously wrote. And I could like go through and add all of these things, but I think you get the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the reason why objects are very important is because if you go to any website, their information is going to be stored in an object. It's, to be more specific, JSON, but it looks exactly the same. So I'm gonna, let's go to a real website, and if we're able to look at their, probably not really. So this information is stored on a backend, and it's called an API. Some companies have public APIs, most companies have private APIs, but I'm sure if we look for a public API, we will find one. So I'm gonna just look it up, public API example. Oh, here we go. So this is an object. It's like we see here, there's nothing in that, but okay, so you see how even though there's no abilities, this is a key and that's the value. And if we look here, name, and then there's a value, URL, and so on and so forth is hidden, value, slot 3. So this is how websites read information. Like every single website, they have some kind of database where they grab information like this. So it's very important to understand the object. As we will later, we're going to build an app and we're going to create our own database that will return something that looks similar to this. So I want you to go ahead and create an object that has all of these values in it. And then console log that out.
How do you console log multiple variables?
You could just make separate console logs. So like you would have console log info.
Oh, you can't just.
Oh, you could. Yeah, it's easier.
To read, I guess.
Yeah, easier to read. But you could if you wanted to.
I actually want to see it. That's handy.
Yeah,
so
actually, you could also like put a string in front, like how we did earlier, and it'll be like an indicator of what I'm console logging. So like for example, has coded before as a string, and then comma, info dot has coded before.
Oh.
Or even better, if you wrap it in an object and then console log the object, it'll do the same thing. Actually, give that a try. Wrap it in an object. And within the console log.
So it's like. Oh. So can I just do this? Oh no.
You could, yeah, but I mean, like if you want to see has coded before only, so you could do like bracket info dot has coded before close bracket, and it'll console log it in a way where it's like, you know the key and the value. It's just easier for you to read.
So for me, when I write has Amy coded before, do I write has not coded before instead of has coded before?
No, you could keep it as is, and then it'll just say false instead of true, and that's fine too. Like, it doesn't always have to be true. Sometimes you want it to be false.
Wait, can I do it in the object or no?
What do you mean do it in the object? Oh, like that. That won't work. It has to be outside the object. So the object can only have key value pairs.
Oh, it's just a database.
Yeah.
So draw from.
Yep.
Wait, I forgot what you said before.
Oh, if you want to see has coded before only in your console log, then yeah, just finish typing that. Now, put curly braces around info dot has coded before. And with the info also.
Okay.
Okay. And when we save, you'll see what that does. Oh, for Amy, we don't have to do the same. Just console log info as is, and we'll have two different examples to look at. So we could delete dot has coded before, so it'll return the whole object instead of just one of them. So let's see what's going on here. Cannot find has coded before. All right, so you see how this B is lowercase and this B is uppercase? JavaScript is very sensitive to upper and lower cases. They have to be exact matches. So like, this is actually a very common bug where if someone wrote, let's say I wrote code like 6 months ago and it was a bigger file. I didn't realize I had a value called has coded before, and I create a new value. It's like lowercase c, and then before, and then I start using this value like in my code, and I do like, let's say, if has coded lowercase before, then do some stuff, right? But now I have two versions of has coded before, and while maybe this one is false, this one is true, then this condition or like this if block might be doing something fishy, and that happens. So something to just be aware of. You always want to have like one source of truth. That's what developers call it, and this is one of those cases. But anyways, let's see. Let's console log for Amy the whole object. So we're just gonna console log info, which is listing. For Wesley, we're gonna console log only this piece has coded before. And then for me, I'm gonna console log has coded before, but without the brackets, which turns this into an object. And I want to see the difference between the three. Okay. And where was our app? It's one of these. Oh, first one. Okay. We have an error on line 56. Console log info dot has coded before. Was coded. All right, yeah, this is another common bug that happens, is that you try to read this value,
okay.
But you want the key.
Right.
Yeah, no worries. These are all good lessons. So, comma was expected. I wonder, let me try something real quick. Const. Maybe it's just because it's in the console log. I don't know. We'll see. Const info has whatever equals this, and then yeah. Okay, so you can't do this syntax, this dot, within a console log. But what I just did for you was I stored it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and then console log that. Okay, so now we have another error. 81. And this is normal coding, like, even though it's like we're just starting out, this is a good example of everyday coding. Even after you get into the industry, there's always going to be bugs, and you have to get comfortable with reading errors and things not working, and then you just go and trace whatever they offer. Sometimes it's not, they don't even tell you the line, and you just gotta like figure it out. So it's good that we even have a line. It says line 81, so we come here and we check and be like, anything here look weird? So it looks like we have an extra bracket. Or it might not be that one actually, because we didn't mess with that. I think it's
here, right? Where render.
What we care about is this console log. So Amy is console logging out the whole info object, whereas Wesley is only console logging out his true or false for has he coded before. But that's wrapped inside these brackets, which turns it into an object. So that is slightly different from what I'm console logging out. I'm console logging out only the value of has coded before. So this is just going to be true or false. Whereas this is going to be an object that has a key of info has Wes, and then the value of info dot has Wes coded before, which is, all right, this is a long trail, but basically it's going to be true or false. So now we're going to look at it. And here is Amy's object, which has the key of Amy's occupation and the key of has Amy coded before with the value false. Here was what Wes coded, which is very similar to what I console logged, which is down, here. So this is just a repeat, but these three. So Wes console logged out an object of info has Wes. I console out only the value. Do you notice that, like, why this is different, or like how this is useful to you?
How this is useful? I'm not sure.
Okay, so like for what I console log out is just true. I have like no idea what is this true. It's like it doesn't mean anything to me unless I like
know what you
yeah. Whereas the way Wes console logged it out, we know exactly what this true is. It has the key and the value. So for debugging purposes, it's very useful to console log out stuff as an object like this. The alternative way is if I were to specify it, like if I said, has Rob coded before, like that, then it would put a string in front and then the value. This is just whatever I put here. It could be whatever I want. Like if I put up like that, it'll be up. So this gives you control, whereas this will give you whatever this is like.
no information. That's why.
Right. So that's really just like debugging convenience.
I was saying that some wordings that you guys use in coding and stuff like that, I don't know because I have no clue about it. So it gets a little confusing.
Oh, let me know when. Like, just straight up pause me, because then I wouldn't notice it. But if you tell me, I could like slow down.
Like,
I mean, I just, but like
just some
explain it.
keywords that you guys use, like object or whatever,
Okay.
to describe something. I don't know what that means sometimes because I never learned those. But like you say, like this is an object.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So right here, do you still see my screen?
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm gonna make it bigger because.
Okay. So an object is just a collect like a database of information. So from here to here, this is an object. This key is storing information that references has coding before, which is up here, and this is a variable. So like all of these are variables right here, where it says const has coded const occupation.
Okay. Do you have old school notes?
Don't think so. Yeah, I don't think I took any notes.
Wait.
I feel like when I start doing it, I'll understand more. But now it's just like a bunch of information, so I'm sure I'll get it later. And my boyfriend learned this kind of too, so I can just ask him.
Yeah. So like I think it's important to really understand this before we jump into it, because then once we jump into it, it's gonna be using all of this interchangeably, and it'll be confusing. So it's okay if you don't understand right now. It's still like the first 2 hours. We'll just do it more and more, and then you get used to it. Okay?
Okay.
So if we let's say wanted to add more stuff to it, let's also add favorite characters to make it a little more interesting. So you see that array. Now this this is how a lot of databases store their information. It'll be objects and arrays with more stuff in it. So like I pulled up an example of Twitter database, and you can see here it has entities and then an array, or better yet, URLs. So there's an array that then has an object that then has another array. So like stuff can get very nested, and we are going to do more exercises to get comfortable working with arrays and objects.